Hey, everyone. Just as a show of hands, so I can try and make this, I'd like to be interactive because I find questions are often the best way to engage an audience. How many people here have used ChatGPT? Let's start with that as a, all right, a lot. How many people here have experimented with AI in their own business so far? About a third. How many people have gotten AI to work in a way that demonstrates meaningful economic value in your business so far? That's more than normal. Okay, good. All right, so what I'm going to try and talk a little about today is, obviously AI is in the news constantly. I think the reality of realizing it has been harder than people expected. And so I'll talk a little bit about how to think about what AI is, what GenAI is, the components of it, where we've seen things work, and then what's made it more difficult, I think, than people expected. So why did AI suddenly explode onto the news in the last 5 years? You can track most of it back to ChatGPT as the launch, but that actually dates back to a paper written by Google in 2017 called Attention is All You Need. And that was basically the introduction of a concept called the transformer model, which is or now called a large language model. But that is basically the origin of, let's say up until that point, most of the AI you heard about related to things like machine learning, which is effectively more of a numbers-based prediction. And GenAI was the first time where you started to see language as something that AI could produce. And I think, I often joke, the reason ChatGPT caught people's imagination was that tech had actually been around. Let's see, ChatGPT was launched in 2022. But that had been around for 5 years before then. The big reason was it was the first time that business people could interact with AI. It was an interface change more than it was a technology change. And so that, I think, is a big part of what caused like what I would call the media hype cycle around it. But then why has this been so hard? And so the baseline number I'll give you today is that despite all of the excitement around concepts like AGI, only about 3% of models built with GenAI make it to production. So 97% of the time, when you start with an experiment, it just doesn't go anywhere. And there's a whole host of reasons why that is. What I call the chasm is one, no clear goals. So you're experimenting with something that's like broadly helpful but not really meaningful, or you're doing 10 pilots at once, you don't have enough focus. I think that's probably been the biggest issue, is actually organizational alignment on what you're trying to do with AI. Like I spoke to a law firm this week, just an example, and their AI strategy was to pilot a bunch of co-pilots across their team. And I was like, well, that's a great strategy, but you're going to come back in 6 months and be like, we haven't done anything, because that's not going to actually align your organization around something where AI will make a difference. So I think that's been the biggest issue. Lack of expertise and understanding. Again, I think the question I often ask people is, if you want AI to work, the bar you have to hit is, if I